I'm Connor Old, and welcome back to another episode of Old's Oscar Countdown. And this week, we're going to be looking at the Best Supporting Actress category. Well, a little bit more clear as last week. I still don't think we have a clear frontrunner to win, and there's many different ways this can go, so it should be a lot of fun to break down. But if you're new to the series, what I do every single week is this. Pick a category at the Oscars and break it down, give my current predictions, including some possible contenders, and sort of just break down the Oscar season as it evolves. We've already done Best Picture, and Best Director is going to be coming up next week, so please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned, comment below, let me know your predictions. I'd love to hear it, maybe some critiques of my predictions, agreements maybe, and sort of parse it out, because ultimately why this channel exists is to create a great Oscar community. But you guys have been showing a lot of support, liking the videos, commenting, so please, I say, keep on doing that. I love hearing it, and that's why this is so much fun. And we're in the thick of it right now. We've already done a few episodes now. We're seeing how the race unfolds. We're getting initial reactions and seeing how the tide kind of turns, which is why you want to stay subscribed to the channel. Because aside from breaking down the categories, I also give things like Critics' Choice predictions will be coming up, and reacting to nominations and things like that, just to have a bit of fun in terms of the overall awards race. But jumping into the video, my first pick is Kirsten Dunst from The Power of the Dog.
Well, Brother Phil?
So unlike last week's episode, this is a much sort of clear category, but don't be mistaken, because in my opinion, there's no clear frontrunner to win. Where in a category like Best Lead Actress, I think Kristen Stewart is in the front to win, and I think she's very much in a position to potentially lose that Oscar. But if she doesn't do anything wrong, I think she has a very good chance of winning that Oscar. But in this category, there's maybe one that I'm confident in, but I'm not 100% sure, because there's a chance they wouldn't get nominated. So my ranking is as such in terms of how it is on every episode, which is the likelihood to get nominated. And that's why I have Kirsten Dunst here. An actor everybody knew, all the way back from an interview with a vampire to her sort of rise with Virgin Suicides, and then, Marie Antoinette, and of course the Spider-Man movies, which are of conversation as of right now. But what I think is sort of interesting about Kirsten is the sort of career arc of her journey, continually to work with sort of auteur directors like Sofia Coppola or Lars von Trier, and I think her sort of transition from mega stardom to more artistic independent as she grows into her age has been really terrific. And I think she's one of the really great working actors today. She has incredible and really impeccable taste. And I think and this is someone who's never been nominated before, and I think the Academy has started to realize that. In the same way, Kristen Stewart was sort of seen as this Twilight teen boppy star and has sort of transferred into more of a respectable, prestige-y kind of area. I think Kirsten Dunst has made a similar pact, although it has taken her a little bit longer. And I do think that this will be sort of the first recognition of this. The Power of the Dog is a movie I think will be well liked within the Academy, backed by Netflix. And we've seen in the past these sort of personal auteur-driven movies, whether it be Mank last year, or The Irishman the year before that, or Roma the year before that, from these sort of well-known directors. This year, it's The Power of the Dog, Jane Campion, and I think this movie will get a lot of nominations and do well at the Oscars, particularly in terms of the nominations. And one of the best parts of the movie, as someone who has seen the movie, is Kirsten Dunst. She has a really sort of the most, I guess, Oscar-y role, although her role is very subtle. Sort of her transition throughout the movie from being really a wide variety of emotions that she can play. She can be sort of attractive, but also sort of motherly and protective, but also sort of sad. And how, like I said, how her sort of the arc of her character sort of goes, it does allow for the sort of Oscar-y type of a role. I don't want to spoil too much about the movie, but just take my word in terms of that. And she really is terrific in the role. The role is very complicated, and she brings a lot to it, and Campion really allows her to sort of sit in these quiet, still moments and communicate a lot as a character. So I think a large part of the enjoyment of the film, in part, has to do with the acting performances. I mean, this could be a movie where we have 4 acting nominations. However, I think Kirsten Dunst is probably the number 2 behind Benedict Cumberbatch, lead actor. I feel confident in him getting in, and I think Kirsten Dunst sort of plays a great role, particularly also because she's in a large majority of the movie. She's very much not the lead actor, but she is one of the main supporting characters and one of the main characters of the movie, so I think that helps her too. So the fact that she is sort of seen in this transitionary period, I think, of being seen primarily, as a prestige kind of an actress, and she's never been nominated before, so it makes sense on that edge. But also, I think that movie will be well nominated, and she has a really terrific performance that she's really great in a what I expect to be a well-liked movie. It's already a critically well-liked movie, so I expect Kirsten Dunst to get nominated here. However, my number 2 pick is Caitriona Balfe from Belfast.
We're living in a civil war.
What do you want?
I want my family with me. I want you.
And it's my number 2 right now, just because I think there's a slight chance that she doesn't get nominated, because I am worried about Judi Dench, which we'll talk about later. However, she's probably my frontrunner to win. She's got all the things going for her if the campaign sort of plays out right, if this and that. But really, there's not too many things that need to go in her favor. The big thing is that she's in the movie Belfast, which I have as my frontrunner to win Best Picture. So that really helps. Being in a movie that's really well liked, that's populous, that I think will do well, won the People's Choice Award at TIFF, which is a very indicative award in terms of your movie getting nominated. So this is also a movie that, you know, movies like Green Book have won before. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. So past winners, Oscar winners, have won this award too. So I do expect Belfast to not only get nominated, but also win some awards. Well, then you look at the landscape and it's like maybe original screenplay, maybe director, maybe picture, or maybe one of the acting awards. And I'm not exactly sure it's going to be Ciarán Hinds, because that supporting actor race is so up in the air. Maybe it's Judi Dench here, but I think Caitriona Balfe sort of hits a lot of the check marks. So she's in that great movie. Traditionally, these sort of actors categories, as compared to the actor categories, their age skews a little younger. So we see young actors like Emma Stone and Brie Larson win, versus on the other side, we see actors like Christopher Plummer win on that side. And Caitriona Balfe, while she is 42, really is stunning in this movie. She plays the sort of motherly figure, but she's not the sort of sole motherly figure, because you also have Judi Dench, who is quite a bit older. It's really sort of a great, beautifully shot movie that really makes Jamie Dornan and Caitriona Balfe look really absolutely stunning, and these great sort of young parents. And they have, you know, their son is a younger actor, so there is that sort of element to it. Furthermore, her role in itself is also kind of Oscar-y. There are multiple scenes where she's crying, and she is sort of at the heart of the movie, because she doesn't want to leave Belfast. It's sort of the debate between her and her husband. Her husband has a new job in England, and there's a lot of strife in Belfast, and it's kind of the central emotional and sort of conflict, dramatic arc of the movie. She's at the core of it, and she's sort of the more emotional side of wanting to stay at Belfast and reminiscing, and we understand and empathize with her. So she plays sort of this motherly, so she can play very stern at times, but also very loving, but also very humorous, but then she also has these sort of emotional crying scenes. So it also helps, you know, she's in a lot of the movie right since the beginning. You know, she's not like Jamie Dornan's character who leaves during certain portions of the movie. She is always in the movie, always in the background, always, you know, having the sort of homestead that she's always at. So that helps when we're talking about supporting actor, not only nominations, but in terms of winners. So when I think of Belfast, oftentimes I do think of Caitriona Balfe, which helps her chances getting nominated, but also because of the type of role she has, because of sort of her perception. I think, you know, she was just in Ford v Ferrari. Outlander is a very popular show, so I think she's starting to break maybe a little bit later in her career, but maybe an Amy Adams type of a appreciation. I think she can hit at the right time, and I do think that she can win this Oscar. My one concern in terms of her getting nominated is just that, like I'll mention later, Judi Dench I do think also gets nominated and could sort of split the vote in that sense. Then in my third slot, I have Aunjanue Ellis from King Richard.
What's going on? Everybody okay?
They got a call, said there was trouble in the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You all need to look around.
And I went with Aunjanue here in a similar way why I went with Caitriona Balfe. Because of the role, because of the movie, and because of how she's positioned. So the first being the movie. I'm a big believer in King Richard. I think, you know, had it maybe even played at TIFF, it could have won People's Choice Award. It was all the talk of the town out of Telluride. It has a positive sort of audience reaction. You know, it's just come out this past weekend. So box office, we'll have to see as that develops, but it does have, you know, high critical response. It is that sort of rousing part sports movie, part biopic, you know, and a biopic is a genre that the Academy does love and has loved before. I think that this is an acting kind of a movie, because I do think Will Smith could win for Best Lead Actor, but I also think someone like Jon Bernthal could get in for Best Supporting Actor, as I mentioned last week. And Aunjanue Ellis, while she does play sort of a traditional role, the supportive wife, and she's not in a lot of the movie, when she is in the movie, she's really terrific. She has a couple scenes, but really one scene in particular that's really emotional, and she really gets to do a lot, and it's really like a wow, who is that? But also like a wow, if I like this movie, I like her, in a certain sense. Like throughout the movie, Will Smith is charming and great and stern and serious, and he does all the complex emotions. But also, when you see Aunjanue Ellis and she just sort of wins the scene against this terrific Will Smith performance, it's hard to beat, and it's a total sort of wow moment. And we've seen these wow moments win Oscars before with someone like Viola Davis in Fences. Even though she's in a lot of that movie, people think of the snot crying scene. I mean, that's an iconic Oscar moment at this time. And I think Aunjanue Ellis has a similar scene. And she's been a terrific actor for such a long time, so it would be great to see her get nominated. I think this is the right movie for her, with the right role, with a couple of sort of traditional Oscar-y type scenes. And I think that while I'm a little bit concerned that the movie's peaking a little bit too early, I mean, let's not forget the Oscars are not until March. I do think that this helps her secure a nomination. And some people may be, confident enough to maybe even give her the win. I'm a little bit hesitant right now just because she's not in as much of the movie as I would like. Then in my fourth slot, I have Dowd from Mass.
How far back would you like to go?
Wherever you need.
Because I can tell you everything, but there's so much that no one will ever know.
And I think of Dowd as a sort of Richard Jenkins type, as I mentioned on last week's episode. Mass is a movie that I think will be ultimately underseen because it's distributed by Bleecker Street, so it doesn't have that sort of big push of a Netflix or a Warner Brothers in terms of publicity that's needed ultimately to get Oscars. But in terms of nominations, sometimes it helps just to be well-liked between the critics and well-liked just between the people that have seen it. And Mass is coming out at the right time, and it did play some of the festivals, so it has some of that backing towards it. And I think Dowd is similarly well-respected, like a Richard Jenkins type. While she has never been nominated for an Oscar, she has won an Emmy before and has been nominated, I believe, 4 times for The Handmaid's Tale, 3 times, and Leftovers for once. So she's someone that's been great in TV for a long time now. All of Caitriona she was great in. And then, in movies, something like Hereditary, she's really great in. And I think people will sort of be like, oh yeah, she's great, I love her. Yeah, and let me check out her movie. And I think once you do check out the movie, in my opinion, it's a really terrific movie, but it's really a movie where you go, I think we should nominate all 4 of these people. It's really, if you don't know, the movie is about 2 sets of parents who come together after a school shooting in which one of the sets of parents was the parents of the victim, and then the other sets of parents were the parents of the school shooter himself. So there is this kind of awkwardness when they come together, but it even though it's not based on a play, has a lot of dialogue in this sort of one room, and it's a real great vehicle for these actors. And like I said, when you've seen the movie, I feel like a lot of people would agree that almost all of them should be nominated. But I think why I think Dowd will ultimately get nominated in this category is because I think it's the most open category as of right now. I also think she's the most recognizable, having that prestige kind of element on the TV side. So some of the voters will have seen her. I also think that she has a little bit more of the juicier kind of a part. She is the mother of the school shooter, so she's at parts on the defensive and has to sort of explain things, and she does have these emotional moments, and the subtlety that she plays it with it is really terrific, and has a little bit more. Because on one hand, you'd say Martha Plimpton's character, you understand, her son has died, she's rightfully angry, but we've seen this with something like Tilda Swinton's performance, and we need to talk about Kevin, the Lynn Ramsey movie, which is a terrific movie. It just, the type of character allows you to be a little bit more subtle, a little bit revealing, harder maybe to understand, but ultimately more empathetic, because it's like, man, I can't imagine myself being put in that situation. I don't know how I'd act. And the way Dowd goes about it is really terrific. So they're all worthy, but I think probably Anne has a little bit more of the prestige, a little bit more of the name value, even though she's still sort of underappreciated actor, in my opinion. I do think that she gets in here for Mass. The big question is, are people seeing Mass? And we'll see that ultimately in terms of, does she get a SAG nomination, Golden Globes, or they're going to probably release some sort of list. So, maybe that will have some influence. We'll see about that. Then in my final slot, I've got Judi Dench from Belfast.
Go now. Don't look back.
So I went with Judi here just because it makes sense intellectually. If you sort of remove things out in terms of hype and what about this movie and other things, just remove that. You take the facts, which are Judi Dench, who is a 7-time nominee, past winner, is in a movie that could potentially win Best Picture. Why isn't she being nominated? I mean, if you just go on that basic level, it's like, it doesn't even matter. I mean, she won an Oscar for being on screen for 8 minutes in Shakespeare in Love. So, I mean, like the last time she was in a movie that won Best Picture, she won a supporting actress Oscar. So why not? She's not going to get into here. I mean, she's one of those actors that's really well beloved. Let's also not forget that someone like Kenneth Branagh has worked with her, I believe, 4 times, and then also once on Broadway, 5 times, I think, if you include Belfast. So, someone that Kenneth Branagh really loves and appreciates. So if Kenneth Branagh is going to be campaigning and wants to try to win Best Picture, which it seems like he does, he has been attending festivals and doing Q&As and that sort, Well, all he has to do is ask Judi Dench, his good friend, to come to a party. And then Judi Dench is there, and oh my god, I forgot how much I love Judi, and she's a great personality in real life. And I mean, that kind of stuff, even though we don't want to talk about it, we always want to talk about just the credence of the performance itself, that stuff matters. The going to the parties, the handshaking, and being well liked. And Judi Dench is very well liked. She's been nominated 7 times. She's won before. And she's in a movie that I expect to be very well liked. And Kenneth Branagh, I think, is a big fan of hers. And, you know, when he's talking about the movie, guess what? He's probably going to bring up Judi Dench and the cast and how terrific they are. And that's going to remind voters. It's also a thing that I mentioned on last week's episode. Every single year since 2017, we've had a dual nomination in the sense that 2 people have been nominated in the same category from the same movie. So think of Woody Harrelson and Sam Rockwell getting nominated for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri in Best Supporting Actor, or just last year Daniel Kaluuya and Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. And it usually is in the supporting category, so why not supporting actress? This is a movie that's very well liked. We have Caitriona and Balfe, who has a little bit more of the juicier kind of a role, but Judi is also sort of the grandmotherly figure who also has some funny moments and some sweet moments, and is also, in one part, the heart of the movie. And she's also really well liked, so why not sort of her? I mean, that could be sort of like a last minute. People are thinking, oh, Meryl Streep from Don't Look Up. And that could be a situation too, but it's the same sort of logic, except Don't Look Up. Meryl Streep probably doesn't have that much of a role, whereas Judi Dench does have a role. She is in a lot of the movie. And also I think Belfast has a higher chance of winning Best Picture than, say, Don't Look Up. Then my first possible contender is Ariana DeBose from West Side Story. Now, this is a movie that not a lot of people have seen, but just based on the actions of the studio, I think that is very telling. This is a movie that was supposed to come out 2020 December and was pushed an entire year to December of 2021 because they felt so strongly, Universal did, that this was an Oscar movie. You have a classic musical, West Side Story, who was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, won a bunch of Oscars, also being directed now by Steven Spielberg, written by Tony Kushner. You know, their last collaboration, I believe, was Lincoln, which did very well at the Oscars. So they're positioning this as a big Oscar contender, and they want this to be a big Oscar contender, and they will sort of force this, I think, in many ways, of being that, even if it just gets a picture and some technical awards. But if this really is the big Best Picture contender that we think it is, well, it's got to have some acting category. And I think Ansel Elgort is sort of struggling with some controversy in his past. So maybe it's Rachel Zegler, the sort of brand newcomer, and the Maria role. But lead actress is really difficult to get into. So maybe it's the Anita role. Last time, 1961's West Side Story, Rita Moreno played Anita and won Best Supporting Actress. So this is not an unknown thing, and there's a little bit of sort of a charm to that. The fact that, oh, this new generation has Ariana DeBose, who's this great young actress, and if she's great in the movie, we're not exactly sure if she is great in it. We can sort of see the situation of, well, we gave it to, you know, the last Anita, we like this Anita, why not sort of give her the nomination? So I think based on the strength of the film, we don't know what the strength of the film is, but how they're sort of pushing this, I do think this will be a movie that resonates. I do think that this will be a movie in terms of the Oscars that will get in for Best Picture. So right now I have Ariana DeBose as a possible contender because she could easily sort of slip in and replace an Ann Dowd or Judi Dench if things, you know, don't break the right way, and it's sort of that young up-and-comer that can get that nomination. And then my second possible contender is Marlee Matlin from Coda. Now, if you don't know, Marlee Matlin is a deaf performer and actress, and she won an Oscar back in 1986 for Children of the Lesser Gods. So she's already won an Oscar. That was her only nomination, but it was sort of I think a watershed moment of recognizing, you know, disabled actors as these incredible actors that can do great things too, and it was a great moment for the Academy. And I think her performance here, while you know, Coda is very much an ensemble piece. She's not really stands out in this movie in a personal sense. I do think that they may really like Coda a lot and want to nominate somebody, and Marlee Matlin is the biggest name from the movie. She's, of course, already won an Oscar before, so similar to the Ariana boys, oh, we gave it, you know, to Rita Moreno, now we're going to give it maybe to this young kid, that sort of parallel symmetry. I think in a similar parallel symmetry, they could go, oh, Marlee Matlin's in a movie, and it's really terrific, and you know what, we gave it to her before, it's a nice sort of sweet thing, let's nominate her again. That could happen too. Not to say, you know, give away from anything of Marlee's performance, in which she is terrific in it. It's just that she is very much in the ensemble piece. She doesn't stand out and have this amazing, great lead role, but is campaigning for supporting. Also, the question is Apple TV. They haven't really done too well in the movie side, and this is an Apple TV exclusive. So will people see Coda? Will this sort of campaign go forward? Is it too small, independent of a movie? I think if the people who do see it really do like the movie, so I do think if the Academy members do see it, they could go with the Marlee Matlin thing. But my concern right now is just we're not sure if Apple TV is super serious, if they will get it into the hands of voters, if they will ultimately, you know, get the smaller movie to get the attention. But I think it could get in for picture, it could get in for screenplay, and if that sort of starts to happen, if we see, you know, get a SAG nomination, watch out for Marlee Matlin in the supporting actress category. That could definitely happen. But that's about it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. There's plenty of other people I haven't talked about. Kate Blanchett, Nightmare Alley, Ruth Negga for passing. Plenty of options that can come in here. But right now I do sort of feel good in my top 4-ish. It's sort of that final slot. And maybe we'll see a huge riser that will come in and take the crown. It's yet to see so far. But that's why the Oscar race is so fun. And that's why you need to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a video and stay tuned with all the latest updates. But that's about it, guys. Until next time. Stay tuned.